Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about how the MCU ruined Pepper Potts' character after Iron Man 2. So this video has nothing to do with Gwyneth Paltrow. I don't care if you like her or not. Personally, I think she's a very odd and peculiar person. And I think she's a little too privileged and stuff, especially with that Goop website. But anyways, it's like when she did her food stamp challenge, she couldn't even last like more than like a week and went back to like, buying tons and tons of groceries. So it's like, wow, you really lived the experience, didn't you? But anyway, this is about Pepper Potts, the character she played in the MCU. Now, her feelings towards the MCU aren't very warming as of late. She didn't know who Tom Holland was. She's never watched like Endgame and everything like that. She's just pretty much done. She knows she's done with the MCU. She's pretty much just done. And I'm glad her character's done because they really ruined her, in my opinion. She was cool in the first two Iron Man movies, but then after that, she just became the girlfriend. And, she was a whole lot more than just girlfriend material in those first two movies, in my opinion. And it's quite a shame how they dropped the ball on her. See, the MCU tried to be different from that of the Spider-Man Sonyverse and everything, where Mary Jane Watson was nothing but the damsel in distress, and Gwen Stacy kind of like, she kind of was too much in the field trying to help out to save the day. So, with that of Pepper Potts, they kind of try to do something a little bit differently. She was never the damsel in distress, so that was always a good thing. Some people found her to be a little whiny, but I thought she was all right. See, the thing about Pepper, when she started off in the MCU, she was very strong, very independent, and very much her own person. She didn't take none of Tony's crap, and she helped him out without preaching to him and everything, and without having to get her fingers dirty. And so the thing about her, she was just the assistant. She's known Tony ever since she was younger. In the comics, they would never love interest. She was actually involved with Happy. In the MCU, it's different. In the MCU, she was not originally dating him. In fact, she was just the assistant, and she would help him out here and there. And this was actually the first time I ever really saw Gwyneth Paltrow act, 'cause I'd never seen her in nothing other than that Hook movie where she did like the cameo. And I think it's a deleted scene. And so, like, the thing I always liked about her is that she never took Tony's crap. She knew exactly what he was, a playboy. He messed around with tons of women. No matter what he would say to her, this and that, he couldn't put one over on her. And, there was like, a barrier, a wall that she kept between those two, but was still friendly enough to where they would still stay friends. She assisted him in the point where, like, after he lost his, damaged his heart, he had the arc reactor, and he got rid of the crappy one that was originally made for him. And, she is the one who taught him the life lesson of, Tony still has like a heart and everything. It's this little crappy, rinky-dink, little rusty thing that he thinks not important because he has his new fancier one. He thinks that's all like, all he'll ever need until the new fancy one ends up getting stolen. And then that gift that she gave him reminded him that he has a heart, ended up saving his life at the end to where he can defeat the big bad. And, she didn't have to preach it to him. She didn't have to shove it in like his like chest or nothing like that. And also it was kind of gross when she had to stick her hand in his chest, but that's a completely different matter. And not only that, but she helped out big time when it came to the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. She told them about like Obadiah Stine and like, all the bad stuff he's been doing. So, and back then nobody knew who Shield was. They didn't really have like a name and stuff. And yeah, she got chased by the big bad guy, but she was never like the damsel in distress to where like, Tony had to like straight up like save her, like, you know what I'm saying? And no matter what, they still remain just friends. And never ever was she a love interest. There was the whole will they, won't they be, but that was about it. At some point in time, he made her, I think, like the CEO. So she went up in, like, the business field and stuff in the second movie. But by the second movie, that's when they started doing more of the romance. There was more flirting. There was a scene deleted where she kisses his helmet, still keeping that distance, but still a little flirty here and there. By the second movie, she became a bit more whiny and everything. I was okay with it because of this reason. She's always thrust in the middle of like the bad guys trying to kill Tony. She's always just happens to be there in the middle, and they keep trying to get like around her to kill Tony. It's understandable to be whining and complaining and screaming and hollering and all this other stuff. You gotta remember, there weren't that many superheroes before Iron Man. There was Captain America, but he was frozen. And nobody knew about, okay, let's just do this. The audience. Before Avengers came out and everything, let's just stick with the heroes we have. There was a Hulk, but he really wasn't like all like, around as much, so nobody really thought about him. Captain America was frozen. Nobody knew about Shield. There was no Ant-Man and Wasp at that time. There was no Captain Marvel. There was no Black Panther. And Hawkeye was just a Shield agent. And so nobody knew of none of these heroes. So to her, there weren't no super villains either. And so the first super villain she ever met was in the first movie. And now here comes the second. So she's thrust into this world that Tony has somewhat like created. And she's not liking it. So it's understandable she would be upset. Now, in the second movie, she's still like, assisting Tony, but it's at the point where she kind of gets fed up to the point where even she quits as being like the CEO or whatever it is position she had. And I like the fact that she gave up the power instead of him taking it back. Not only that, but like, she is the one who had the Shield agents like capture that of Justin Hammer. And the thing about that is like they had the perfect opportunity to set up her rescue armor. Because they were setting it all up with like Rhodey with the War Machine, but Justin Hammer, even though Tony bested him and this and that, it was actually Pepper who put the final blow to him and ended his career. And he threatened her at the end, and it was so ominous with the way both actors acted it that you knew he was coming for his revenge. And one of his drones went rogue, and it started to come towards her. And I thought to myself, oh man, this would be like the perfect opportunity to create the rescue armor, because it will damage her body, damage her heart, and she will need that suit like a lifeline like she did in the comic. Because just like with the comic with Iron Man, if he don't have that suit, then he will die. That was the perfect opportunity, and they ruined it by having Iron Man save her at the last minute. So fans were disappointed, because they thought, oh, maybe she'll have like her rescue armor. But then after that, you get to the Avengers movie. By the Avengers movie, now all of a sudden they're dating. She's walking around his apartment with just a shirt on, and that's it. And she's flirtatious, but she's still helping him out when it comes to the Shield people so he doesn't get in trouble. She's becoming that reliable girlfriend source. This is when they start to ruin her character. After that, she's not really in the movie because there's really no point for her being in the movie because it's an Avengers movie. But then you get to like Iron Man 3, and by this time she is fully ruined. She is now the girlfriend. She is now the living girlfriend. I blocked out Iron Man 3 out my head, so I don't really remember much of what happened, but they did tease the whole rescue armor by having her suit up by mistake and Iron Man's new Mark armor and stuff. What was it, 3, 4, something like that? And maybe it was 5, I don't know. The golden red one. The one that's more gold than it is red. And so so whatchamacallit. So other than that, I kind of forget what she does, but then at the end of the movie, what happens? She gets the extremist virus, and now she's a superhero. It's kind of just thrust upon her. She didn't earn it. It didn't happen by like this traumatic event, like how she should have got her like rescue armor. It kind of just happens, and it kind of just happens because they realize they're starting to ruin her character. So this is a way to make her happy by making her a superhero, making her super strong, defeating the bad guy, blah blah, stuff like that. After that, we don't see her no more. After this point, there were no more Iron Man movies, and now Iron Man disappears in everybody else's movie. By this time, him and her have broken up off screen. We don't get to see it. We don't get to know really the real true reason why. And it's just kind of like, she's not even an afterthought. Why? Because Iron Man has a new person in his life, Spider-Man. Spider-Man takes up all his attention now. He appears in all the Spider-Man movies, except for the third one. And it's like he's Peter's mentor. He gives him the suit. He's still hanging out with Happy. But, Pepper is just like now an afterthought. And it's quite a shame. So it's just kind of like Peter Parker kind of stole Tony away from like Pepper and everything, and fans became invested in that, and now they was no longer invested in that of him and Piper. But then we get the last two Avengers movies, where apparently they're now all of a sudden back together. This is such a disconnect because they broke off screen, they got back together on off screen, and now they're jogging, and she doesn't get that much screen time. She's only in there for like a few minutes. But the thing is like, see, when she was in the first three Iron Man movies, she helped drive the Tony Stark character. You know what I'm saying? Like, because he liked her and she helped moving him forward. Once she disappeared from the MCU, then it was Peter Parker driving Iron Man. And then now all of a sudden that has like still continued, but now she's back in the playing field, but she isn't doing nothing. And so then when you get to the last Avenger movie, now all of a sudden they're married, now all of a sudden they have kids, and we don't really get to see that real family dynamic. She gives him a little motivational speech here and there, he's being a butthead, but then in the final climax of like the movie, all of a sudden now she has her rescue armor. He just made it for her. And that's just a big letdown. It would have been nice to have some type of dramatic reason as to why he made it for her. Like maybe she got hurt. Maybe he didn't want her to get hurt. He always wanted her to like protect herself and protect the kid in case he's not there. Something. It was just so half written and everything. And she shows up. She knows how to work the armor. She's kicking butt. And then, of course, he dies, and she mopes, and she mourns, and that is it. And now she's out the MCU. And I'm just kind of like, when did this strong woman just become the girlfriend material, where she's just there to give him support? She's just there to make everybody know that he has a love interest, and she's just there being a superhero family when she didn't earn her armor. And it's quite a shame because it's kind of like they could have really built something out of that and built her character up more and more to where she deserved her suit of armor and got the fight in this big world ending event. And it just kind of happened. They just kind of tossed her in there, all because they're all like, oh yeah, that's right, she's in the MCU. We need to do something with her, and we need to make the actress happy. So they kind of just like tossed her in there, and then once they're done, they just like tossed her out. And it really, really is quite a shame because she was actually a really cool female character in the MCU, even before she donned her armor and stuff. And this is kind of a repeating factor that they've been doing on a lot of their female characters. A lot of their female characters start off really strong and really cool, but then after a while, they just kind of like, whatever, you know what I'm saying? And they start writing them more lackluster and everything, or they just kill them off. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.